Hello, it is Jack Gill, and welcome back to Redmen Academy. Smiles on our faces as the Premier League is this week returning, and it is getting ever so close now. The time of recording, it is 6 days till the resumption of Liverpool. It is 3 days. Well, it's on Wednesday. I don't know what's going on with these days. It's very close. We have Premier League football back on Wednesday. It's 2 or 3 days. I don't know at this point. I just know it's close. James, how excited are you?
I can't wait. Honestly, I just keep finding myself talking about. Even I think my girlfriend's getting sick of me just saying so many days for the Premier League, and I'm counting down every day. And I think she's just going to absolutely bored of it once it's back because she's going to get no attention once the footy's on.
Driving absolutely everybody crazy. Me and my dad has said to my mum, look, you've had 2 months without football. I hope now you're going to have 2 months of nothing else but football. And
I mean, it seems like a fair trade, to be honest.
Yeah, definitely. You know, it's one of them things as well. And even more exciting to know that Liverpool, at the end of all this, will be lifting that title. Yep, it's going to be the same without fans, but it's about bloody time, James.
Honestly, I couldn't care less about there not being fans being there. I couldn't care about, not having the parade right away. Doesn't bother me at all. I know once I'll be back in Liverpool in September, or whenever I end up going back to Liverpool, we'll have a parade at some point when it's safe, and I will be there front row. I don't care.
Exactly, that's the thing. We'll celebrate it when we can, and it just prolongs the celebration. It means we celebrate at home until we can go outside and celebrate.
It can be unbearable for as long as we want. It doesn't matter.
Exactly, and I can't bloody wait. It's been a long time coming. Just a few talking points from this week. Obviously, in the latest round of Premier League coronavirus testing, there's 2 positive cases, one of which we know is at Norwich. Now, this brought up a lot of worry, a lot of talking points, and a lot of criticism, James, because Norwich played Tottenham in a friendly, and I've not been an advocate for these friendlies. I've not been very happy with the Premier League for coming to this decision. It's not something the Bundesliga did, and I'm not too sure as to why it's needed. It's crossing leagues. We saw Liverpool play Blackburn, which I know we're going to talk about in a bit. But as we've seen here, Norwich have a positive coronavirus case, and that risks players and staff at Tottenham, which, don't get me wrong, is going to obviously happen when the Premier League returns. But it's an unnecessary game to risk that from happening. And when you're desperate to bring this Premier League season back, it's just not necessary, is it, James?
No, I don't. I understand why they wanted to play against another Premier League team. It makes sense completely on paper. But in practicality, it probably wasn't the smartest move, knowing that there was, a slight risk of something happening. And it seems to have gone ahead. Whether that'll have any sort of further consequences, we'll probably find out over the next few days, but it just seems like an unnecessary risk, to be honest.
Yeah, definitely, and it's also playing against championship teams. I think that's even worse. I wasn't too happy when we were playing Blackburn. Obviously, we've seen with the Stoke and Man United situation. I think they have a few more cases in the championship than in the Premier League, and there's just no reason to mix those 2 leagues right now. So it's bizarre. I don't understand why they did it. I kind of get it. I do, because they want to make sure they're match fit. They want to make sure that it's more appealing for fans watching and stuff like that. I absolutely get that, and that players are back at their best, and it's understandable. But it's just something they didn't need to risk. And there was a lot of questions at the time. Does everyone because he played in that friendly against Tottenham, does that mean everyone for both Norwich and Tottenham need to self-isolate? But I saw via Sky Sports, it was explained on there that actually, because the player didn't come into contact for 15 minutes with another player on the pitch, it's fine, which I found very bizarre, James.
I mean, I'm not sure I really buy into that whole excuse, reason, and whatever you want to call it. Just say it how it is and just sort of leave it at that. Just say, might have been a mistake. Leave it there. We'll see in the next few days, won't we? Whether it really was a big mess up or whether they sort of got away with it.
Yeah, it said following government guidelines. Obviously, it depends how much time you spend with someone, and they've worked out how long approximately you're expected to be that close with 2 meters
Yeah,
or a meter with a player in the modern game, and they've said it's under 15 minutes, and actually that should be fine. But as you say, it's going to be very interesting now to see these rounds of testing and
yeah,
seeing if we start to see a spike in some players or what happens. Don't get me wrong. I don't think anyone expected the R rate is still very high in England compared to other countries that have started seeing football coming back. I don't think too many people expected us to go through the whole season when it returns without seeing a single coronavirus case.
mhm.
But let's hope there's not too many unnecessary ones, James.
Exactly. Yeah, it's just sort of it's damage control, isn't it, and lowering the risk as much as possible. We can't completely negate it, but it's about being as sensible as we can and doing what is in our power and what's in power of the FA, the football teams, to reduce that transmission risk and play a part as well.
I don't want to negate this, as you say, James. A very positive mood at the minute. Football is very
Yeah,
close to returning. But there's a question that I feel like should be asked. We've seen a lot of riots and a lot of raves, and we're seeing the R rate rocket in the last few days. In some areas it's getting very close to one, and I know in other areas it has gone 2-1.
yeah.
Is there a worry that the Premier League season won't get finished still?
I mean, it's a real possibility, isn't it? We might get to the point where all of these things that are happening around the country, might result in a spike, and it might just get to the point where the government say, you know what, we tried bringing football back. It's too much of a risk knowing that players might have contact with people outside the football pitch. Family members might have indirect contact, indirect transmission, and it might just seem like too much of a risk, really. But because it will be a very, effective way of getting a virus from one part of the country to another through a football player or through those coaching staff. But let's hope that this doesn't happen, that we are able to keep things, at one, no higher, and that, everything's able to sort of go ahead as we hope, because it will be a big boost to the country.
Yeah, I think these next few weeks are crucial
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
as I say, we've seen those things where we've seen a lot of lockdown rules being eased. We've seen things like raves happening. I know in Manchester there's been a few over the last few days, which is ridiculous. We've seen lots of riots in London,
Yeah,
and it's one of them situations now where it's going to be interesting to monitor that R rate and how high it goes in certain areas and what happens. I think I saw the other day in London they've got very, very low in cases now down there. So, but in other areas like I know in the northwest it's very close to one again, and in some places in the southwest it is one. But I think
as far as I know, where Liverpool has gone over one,
yeah,
as of last week, I think it was 1.01. It officially went over.
and
So it's just a matter of trying to keep it, at one and eventually bring it down. But it's hard to see how that's going to happen as things get eased.
yeah, it is worrying. I have to say, I was worried the other day. That my first thought when I saw Salah obviously paying for all the petrol, which is a very good thing, I thought, oh, bloody hell, I hope he stayed. So I hope he stayed away from
Yeah,
it.
it's the same thought as well.
The last thing we need is him getting it and being out for 2 weeks. And it's one of them things, James, where we've just got to monitor the situation, and the Premier League has to carefully monitor the situation and make sure it's perfectly safe, because we've
Yeah,
seen Premier League players being involved in the riots and stuff as well. So we've just got to make sure that I know they are doing the tests every often, but remember these coronavirus tests are only 70% accurate. So you've just got to be very careful, haven't you?
yeah, it's just getting rid of that risk everywhere as possible. And I'm not sure how it's going to play out in the Premier League, like how it's playing out in the Bundesliga, whether they'll all be sat along the side of the pitches. I know we all joked about how daft it looked, but if it's effective, then it's worth implementing, isn't it? And just doing everything you can to say we did our part, we tried to bring things back as effectively as possible, and hopefully reduce the spread further.
Yeah. To move on to another bit of news, we've seen obviously the neutral venue thing has all been scrapped. The Merseyside derby
Mm-hmm.
will be played behind closed doors at Goodison Park. It's the right decision, obviously, James, but why did it take them so long?
it's absolutely daft, wasn't it? And even when it was all going on, I couldn't imagine a scenario where at such short notice we were ever going to play a game other than at Goodison at Anfield, because it's ridiculous, isn't it? It'd just be like a glorified Nations League, you know. It just wouldn't make any sense at all. Play at different venues every week at no one's home venue. What's the point?
I've said throughout this, you either play them all at neutral venues or you play them all at the right venue. It makes no sense moving some of them. It was even more ridiculous when the Athletic obviously released that article saying that it was going to be played at St Mary's, and I was like, this is bizarre. Why would they do that? Why would they cause all that travelling? It made no sense to me, and you know, both clubs said they wanted it at the right venue, which is Goodison Park. The Merseyside police were very quick in saying we're fine with it being at Merseyside at Goodison Park. So there was no reason to prevent that, and I think as long as it's policed right and the security is high to prevent obviously what we saw in La Liga this weekend, where there was a pitch invader behind closed doors, which God knows how that was able to happen. But you know, as long as security is very good at all these games, then it's absolutely the right decision, James.
Yeah, there was absolutely no danger, and there was no threat from Liverpool fans to ever cause any trouble or cause any, you know, disruption to the lockdown. So, you know, unnecessarily putting a light on it didn't really seem fair at all. You know, we've got enough problems with our portrayal in the media without issues being pulled out of thin air to make us look like, 'cause it was us really that were being singled out when we're not the only team with something to play for. I know you said the other week the teams that, you know, are in the relegation zone, if they survive relegation, are you telling me their fans aren't just as likely to go out celebrating as Liverpool fans winning the league? Daft.
There's no mention of Leeds in the Championship, whether they're going to do the same. It's ridiculous singling out, and it's for newspapers and media outlets to get clicks during all this.
Exactly. That's all it is, isn't it? Because everyone hates to hate on Liverpool.
Exactly.
That's what it is.
And there's a lot of Liverpool supporters who will obviously be infuriated, and it will get more clicks, and that's exactly what these media companies do. And it's ridiculous that they keep doing it. But during lockdown, when they don't have much news, we see it with transfer news. Every player under the sun is always linked to Manchester United, and that's because it gets clicks, and there's a lot of worldwide Manchester United fans. So that's why they do it. James, looking at all the games this weekend, well, we'll say this week because obviously we've got football every day. It is brilliant, apart from Thursday, of course. Do you think there'll be any upsets this week? Who do you think will catch the eye the most?
I mean, I was hoping that Arsenal were going to upset Man City, but after that Brentford game, I have absolutely zero faith now. So I've accepted that we're going to have to wait another week to win the league. But looking down, I mean, I wouldn't put it past West Ham to have a bit of an upset against Wolves. You know, West Ham have got a good team, and I've said this all season, where they've got good players, but they just don't seem to be able to play together at all. But then that Bournemouth and Crystal Palace game, I think, you know, might look a bit boring on paper, but they're both quite good teams on their day, and I'm looking forward to watching that as well.
It's interesting pinpointing Palace there, and this is one of the things where, do Palace really have anything to play for now? They're coming back. They're in mid-table. They ain't going down. They ain't going anywhere else really apart from mid-table. So are they in a situation where we'll see their players not motivated whatsoever?
Exactly.
Maybe similar to Schalke.
Really interesting dynamic, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. And
that's on BBC as well. Just like to point out that's the match on BBC this weekend.
Yeah, there's some great games, I think, as well. Another thing to look at is Sheffield United. They're on obviously brilliant form, pushing for Europe. Will they be able to replicate that? Aston Villa fighting relegation. What can they do? Watford, will Deeney be playing? What will be going on there? It's going to be a great weekend, and we'll do as many videos as we can over the course of this week. We'll do some score predictions as well, closer to the time. See between now and the end of the season, whenever that may be, who gets more points out of me and James, make it a bit of a competition, see how that is. James, brilliant news for us as well, this new sub rule, isn't it? The amount of youth players we're going to see when football returns. It's going to be brilliant for a lot of people to see these youngsters.
I mean, it wouldn't put it past me for Klopp still not to make a substitution till the 80th minute and still not bring on Shade and Shaqiri. But I mean, obviously, jokes aside, I'm looking forward to seeing, Harvey Elliott, Curtis Jones, Nico Williams, hopefully get rotated into the team, and then looking out to the league as well, where we know City, Arsenal, United have got some very, very good young players too, which we'd hope would get some involvement.
I mean, this is the thing as well. Pep Guardiola likes to hype up Phil Foden, but he doesn't play him enough. We'll now get to see a player like him play more minutes, hopefully. And then there's so many other players in the Premier League that we'll get to see. Martinelli, will he get more game time for Arsenal? Lots and lots of youth players. Billy Gilmore, who broke on the scene before this break, obviously. You've got some really good talent at Everton. Will they use that? Carlo Ancelotti. We'll see in these next few weeks. And
I mean, what I think quite interesting is that, as we've seen in the Bundesliga, players are getting subbed at half time, so it doesn't necessarily matter who starts. We might see Harvey Elliott start a game, then get subbed off at half time, as opposed to the way round, which wouldn't be as surprising. Would we be surprised if we're playing 3 games in like 8 days to see Salah go off at half time for Harvey Elliott? Probably not. But to see him actually start a game would be, something else completely. And I think, this substitution rule affords that to us, doesn't it? Where we can completely, change the way we're playing the match after 45 minutes.
Yeah, and if you're interested in seeing these young players, we did a video going back a while now. It's been a long lockdown about about the best youth players across the Premier League. We'll tag that in the description. You know who to keep your eye on then. But throughout this as well, we'll keep you updated with youngsters that have caught our eyes and probably your eyes as well when you're watching games. We're really looking forward to it here at Redmen Academy. As we mentioned, we need 6 points to win the league. I'll just rub that in a bit more, James. We played Blackburn in a pre-season friendly. We're excited to see our youngsters once we've confirmed winning that league. I think we'll see a lot more of our youngsters getting game time. A player that caught the eye for me against Blackburn, James, was Kijana Hoover.
Yeah, I mean, it's such a strange one because we know how good he is at right back, but we're going to need him to be that good at centre back as well, and whether he can, continue to push and, force his way into that team and hopefully gets the minutes over the next couple of months too, because I don't think anyone's really expecting Kijana Hoover to really feature. All the eyes are on Nico Williams, but he's a very good player, and you can see that when he's played for the first team, he's done very well. So it's just how he's going to be able to fit into our last 9 games of the season.
It's mad because I always say I prefer him at centre back. I really do, and whether that's because we've got obviously Trent and Nico at right back, and I think Kijana is an excellent centre back. But I've seen 2 games from him at right back, one against Villa in the Carabao Cup, and that one against Blackburn, where he's getting forward and he's making a menace of himself, and he gets a goal.
He's a really good right back as well.
Yeah, and that finish for his goal was outstanding.
It's so good.
He's a very good player, and I think that he's got a big future because he's versatile as well. So he can play in that centre back or right back position. And if Dejan Lovren goes, we're looking at certain players, and we've got an abundance of youth stars, James. And I think another position that we need to keep our eye on as well, with a lot of people obviously questioning whether we're going to go in the market this summer. And I keep saying, a lot of people keep saying about left back and finding someone to cover for Robertson. I keep saying, actually, we have a lot of people to cover that left back spot. We have Milner, we have Gomez can even play on left back. We have Adam Lewis, of course, Yasser Larouci. We have a lot of players that can do it. And now that Adam Lewis is back and fully fit, I'm interested to see if he gets some minutes at left back and how he can do.
Yeah, I think I wouldn't be surprised to see him on the bench at points as well, because he has got, as we love talking about, he's got that versatility where he can play left midfield, left back, centre mid. So he'd be a really good option to have in that travelling squad, at least.
Yep, definitely. And that's all we have for today. We're going to keep you updated with lots of videos over the next few days and weeks. I cannot wait, and I cannot say this enough. I cannot wait for football to return. And yeah, let's hope we get these 6 points as quick as possible, James, and get that league wrapped up. Thank you very much for joining us again, and we will see you very soon. Make sure you like, subscribe, and comment, of course. Ta-ra.